Okay, so this is how I decided to widen the front panels rather than split them up the middle and add a piece up the middle. So what I've done is I've taken a straight line from up there, giving my 1/2 inch seam allowance for everything that I need. So I'll have my 1/2 inch seam allowance, and as you can see on this side, I've lengthened it under the armpit, or widened it from under the armpit all the way down an extra 3.5 inches here. And then the same thing in the front from where it attaches to the back. It goes from my seam allowance down here to another 4 inches wider here. So each panel will be lengthened by roughly 7 inches or widened by 7 inches. And then I've just put a straight line across the bottom to kind of a reference so that I can figure out my length later, because this did have the 6-inch fur that was on here. But when I do my embroidery, I'm going to do a panel embroidered and then add it to the bottom of the suit. So for now, I think this is what I've got here, and I think it's going to work really good. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the back panel, where it goes from the armpits down to the back on the back panel, and I'll show that in just a second. And that will again increase about another 7 inches approximately on the back panel. So altogether, we're probably going to be close to 12 to 14 inches extra in width all the way around. So after cutting the pattern out and sewing right sides together and flipping it back over, I forgot to mention in that first video, I had my lining, which is this is the inside of the suit, underneath that velvet material, so I cut both of them at the same time, and that's pretty much what you want to do. That makes sure all pieces are exactly the same. And another thing I don't think you realized was that was all doubled, so I was actually cutting the left and right sides at the same time. So I was actually cutting 4 pieces of material. The velvet was doubled over and my liner underneath was doubled over. So making a left and a right piece out of both the liner and the velvet. So I've sewn them together, as you saw in the last video, with the right sides together. And this is just what I do for a little extra assurance. You could sew your pattern back together, but I always do this after I flip it back inside out and make sure to push out the corners so they're nice and square. I go along and I put pins and I make sure that this is like right on the seam so that there's no shifting. So I've noticed before in the past when I've done some, if I haven't done this, particularly on the vest that I make, the fabrics can shift and you get this seam could be like 1/4 of an inch over here on top or on the bottom, and because the fabric will roll. So what I do now with this is I go along with the sewing machine and I will sew along the edge about 1/8 of an inch in, so right on the edge basically. And I use a zipper foot for that on my sewing machine, but I do that way there's no sliding around, and once you assemble the suit you don't see it anyway, because this is still going to be, this is the front, you'll actually see this, but I'll be covering it up with either fur or something. But like where the arm holes go and the side seams and even this shoulder seam, those will be doubled with a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the inside, so you'll never see what I'm going to be doing right now. For me, it's just kind of an extra measure so that the two pieces of fabric don't slip back and forth and create the seams in the wrong side on the wrong spots. So anyway, I'll get this posted up and let you guys see what it looks like after I get it all seamed up. So this is what I mean about sewing just the edge. So this is a zipper foot, and it lets me get 1/8 of an inch roughly from the edge of the material that's pinned. So you can see that the backing and everything, so that keeps that seam straight and keeps the material from shifting on itself. So this is what I mean when I say I'm doing a little seam down the side. And again, this seam will never be seen. This stitch will never be seen. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. So now that I have that front panel all done, you can kind of see how I widened it. So everything's still the same up here, pretty close. So that's going to be the same. I didn't like the way this came down and went down that way, so I just did it completely straight. I widened it on that side, and so now it's widened in the front too. And so you can see here we've got about 2 3/4 inches, but if you bring it down here it's going to be 3. And remember, we're going to have another piece of probably, I want to say 4-inch material on here, plus the fur if I decide to do the fur. And by the time it gets 4 inches here, 4 inches more, this line will be like this, which would probably give it at least another 4 inches wide. Same thing on this side. This we have about 2.5 inches, but it'll be the same thing as it comes down and around. It'll be longer because of the angle, so it'll be wider down at the bottom. So all in all, I'm probably going to gain at least, clear down at the bottom, probably 8 inches on just this one. So if you do that to the other one, so this is the right side. So if you do that also to the left side, and you're gaining 8 inches here, 8 inches here, well, that's 16 inches. Plus I'm doing the same thing with the back panel. So the back panel, I've already measured that out. I gained roughly 6 inches. So by the time it's all said and done, when it gets down to the bottom of the fur, this coat is probably going to be another 20 inches around from this pattern here. And I will just keep you posted. Thanks for watching. So now, as you can see, this is the front panel, and you see that stitch line I'm showing you on this side. So what that does is that goes all the way around, and that keeps both these layers from being able to slip side to side. So again, this is the good side, the outside, and the stitch is hidden in that velvet. But again, you're not going to see it because this is actually a 1/2 inch seam allowance that will be on the inside of the coat when the panel is put to the back side. Same thing all the way around the armhole and down that side. All those seams will be a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the inside of the coat, so you'll never see it. This is what you will see on the outside if I don't put fur on it, or if I don't put bias tape or anything else. I am planning on putting a very wide ribbon that runs up this, and I don't know yet if I'm going to be doing like the other coat where it comes up and then comes over and then goes up. I haven't yet decided that. I may not have any fur, I may not have any ribbon. It's all going to depend on just where I want to take it when I get it all assembled and see what it looks like. I've got some ideas swimming around in my head, so I might do one of those. So anyway, thanks for watching. So this is the back panel. Again, this was lengthened on the inner seam side, or widened on the inner seam side. So basically all I did was I folded my velvet material in half, folded my lining in half, laid them on top of each other, then folded this in half how it is, laid the fold side on the seam, or on the folded for all the pieces of material, then did a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around here. Then I added from here to there for width. Now that width gives me, here is 3 inches. So that's 3 inches per side. So that's 6 inches. And we have to remember that this will be coming down at least another 4 inches for the material that's going to have the embroidered pieces on it. And then whatever's going to be down on the bottom side there. So by the time this gets down to here, we will probably have lengthened at least 4 to 5 inches, which that would be doubled, would be 10. Added on to whatever the front was. I can't remember what I said, 15. So we're looking at like 25 to 30 inches is going to be the bottom of the coat, much wider. All the way through the coat will be much wider, be a better fit, be a more loose fit. You'll be able to see that I will be able to actually touch the middles in front of me. Each side will probably be able to overlap a little bit. As you can see in the first videos where that suit, I couldn't even touch them together in the middle. That way when I'm sitting down, I'll be able to have the coat more draped around me rather than clear off to the sides. So, and that's what I like. That's the style that I like. So anyway, this back panel was done the exact same way. Right sides together, stitch it together with my serger, then flip it, and then you can see the little 1/8 inch seam line, which of course is on the other side too. But again, this is the inside seam, so you'll never see it. You actually never see any of the seams of the red on this side. It'll just be perfect. So anyway, thanks for watching.